Next question. What is the best way, speaking of collaboration and communication, what's the best way to increase collaboration between planners and hoteliers during the contracting and planning process? Barbara or Lisa, either of you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I'll jump in and just say, I think we've already touched on a lot of these hallmarks. Conversation, not a confrontation. And by the way, the side note, Lisa gave an example of a circumstance which the first sort of news the hotel received about an upcoming meeting came from a lawyer. That's a huge disservice on behalf of the client. I had no idea the lawyers. I know it's not me.
It wasn't you.
What I mean there is to say, always the business team should exhaust every remedy before the lawyers get involved. So just be aware of that. That's certainly my perspective, and I've shared that with group clients. Conversation, not a confrontation. What is it you need? What is it you want? Be prepared to come to the table. What is it you're willing to do? Give up concessions, pay for concessions, whatever the case may be. So starting that process on the group side with those things in mind is important. And be sensitive. Understand that hotels have been terribly impacted. We've already talked about the staffing issue. Many of the folks that you're probably working with are not the folks that you worked with when you negotiated the contract. So there's a lot of sensitivity. There should be a lot of sensitivity given across the aisle. And Lisa, kind of tossing the ball to you on the hotel side and picking up this information. That's what I would recommend the group pass over to the hotel. Do you have other things to add to that?
I think you're right. I think the important thing, as a lawyer, what I was always trained to do is when a customer or when a client comes to you with the problem and they say, oh, this terrible thing happened to me, I always say, well, what do you want to have happen? Do you want money? Do you want somebody to apologize? What do you want to have happen as a result of the situation? Well, the same is true when you're negotiating a contract. Don't just come and say, I need this renovation clause. Come and say, the last time we went to a hotel, we showed up and found out that the whole lobby was under renovation when we got there, and it made us look bad. Figure out what your problem is, what you want to avoid happening in the future, and then work together to come up with a clause that will address that issue. And the same is true with COVID. You can say, I'm concerned that our attendance will be bad if there's a new strain. And then you can come up with a clause that says, as we've talked about earlier today, if we don't have X amount of pickup by X date, we can terminate at half the regular cost or something like that. Put your concerns on the table for both sides and say, here's what we're worried about. How can we come to clauses that will address both our needs and not put undue risk on one side or the other?
And I will say one last thing, and this just goes to communications 101. If you're thinking about making a snap email retort back, no matter who it is, don't. I get it. I understand this is emotions run high. But, again, group and hotel side, if you feel that immediately you get something terse and you want to respond accordingly, don't. Give yourself time. Let it marinate. That's probably one of my best life advice and cooking. Let it marinate and think about it. Come back to it the next day. Come back to it with fresh eyes, fresh perspective. That's really important. And again, I think that gets lost in this, and it shouldn't. And I think we need to stop and pause and really think about before we respond. We're so accustomed to responding quickly and instantaneously that I think that aspect can get lost. And it's just worth pausing on that point, asking yourself, do I have to send this out immediately? Is there someone else on my team that might take a look at this and give me some objective opinion, right? We all know there are circumstances in which we have a hard time being objective. And I think that's important as well.
And Barbara could not be more right. Everybody is tired. Everybody is stressed out. Everybody is so over this, and everybody has had their expectations dashed so many times. And so it's easy to just say, you can't do this. Slow down and try and get to where can we fix this together? How can we fix this together, rather than just getting angry, because getting angry is not going to help anybody.
That's for sure.